Right.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, now we're live, and
No,
welcome to Make Every Day Count with the absolutely awesome Andy White, or Andrew White, if he's being
no,
posh.
Andy
But
White. He's like you,
but where I come
my
from
mate.
now, anyone watching this, if anyone does actually watch these vlogs, you can see that we've got some AI recording into space, into third parties, but we're just going as it is. Um, Now, my mate Andy, my long lost mate Andy, who were brought up literally streets away in Denton, 17,000 kilometers away. I'm sure it only used to be 15,000 kilometers, but now it's $17,000 according to Google. And then lo and behold, a few weeks later, we leave really posh Denton and end up in scrummy old South Melbourne in Australia. Two blokes walk into a networking event and go, "Oi, there you are." How bloody bizarre is that?
I loved
It's
it.
bizarre.
Our face lit up, didn't it?
It did, and everyone thought we're long lost. Everyone thought we were best mates. We'd known each other for ages, and I think when we talk about communities and we talk about people, it's that it's the Manchester beat. It's that thing that just brings everyone together straight away. And we had a brilliant night.
We
Um,
really did. We were
um,
dancing together. I was even touching your leg.
you were now. Come on, we'll try to keep this PG. So the objective today is we're going to go, and I've done some stuff that you actually don't know about, which I'm going to surprise you.
Nervous.
And we're going to talk about Make Everyday Count, but we're also going to, this is probably one of the few vlogs where you are going to promote yourself, Andy. Right, you're going to get
Okay.
out there and talk to people. Because you laughed about AI before, but I've spent the last hour and a half AIing you to find out what I can find in Andy.
Oh
I
no, what
mean,
did you find?
so
Oh
previously
shit.
known, no, I haven't. I spent the last 10, 15 minutes. It's actually really good because um, I'm going to read what AI says about Andy, and then you're going to go from this. It says Andrew White is a host of Leading Our Way, Low, a podcast
Our own way.
leading our own way, which someone then said to me, low spelt wrong. I went, mate, it's not spelt wrong, it's the right way. A podcast dedicated to sharing inspiring stories of resilience and personal triumph. Each episode features guests who have overcome significant challenges, such as trauma, bullying, or other life altering circumstances. And I really like that, other life altering circumstances, and have emerged stronger, reshaping their destinies through personal development. The podcast delves into these transformative journeys, highlighting the pivotal choices, unwavering resilience, and extraordinary strength that enabled individuals to carve their unique paths. Low serves as a beacon of hope and empowerment, offering listeners valuable insights and lessons for their own journeys towards self-discovery and empowerment. Andrew's commitment to amplifying these narratives provides a platform where the human spirit's resilience takes center stage, inspiring individuals from all walks of life to embrace their inner strength and lead their own way towards a brighter future. How good's that?
It's off the website, I think. That yeah.
And thank you very much. And that was Andrew White. And thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed that vlog. Now, what I got out of that was you are, having met you the end of the week, and we've been chatting on SMS, text as if we've been best for known each other for years, is you're a very understated person and you have a story to tell. You have a very, very powerful story to tell. So tell everyone about, when we talk about Make Every Day Count, what Make Every Day Count is about.
Mm.
You know, tell people a little bit about your own story and what got you to where you are today, the whole thing about Lau, because we are, not only did we meet 17,000 miles of kilometers away, but our journey and what we're both trying to do is very, very aligned.
Mm. Definitely. Definitely. Oh, so I feel like I've jumped many fences to get to the point of creating a podcast, to get to creating leading our own way. When I left everything, I absolutely left everything behind in the UK because I really wanted to pursue the career as a teacher. I left my friends, I left my family, I sold my car twice. The one car to go traveling, and I got the same car again and sold it again to fund my international studies. I used all my visas prior to coming to Australia when I moved here to backpack and play basketball and so on. And then when I wanted to come back, I there was it was very hard at the time to get into a teaching program in the UK because of the recession. Everyone had become teachers. To put it in perspective, when I was applying to become a high school PE teacher, there was only one. I think there's only one. Well, I don't know if it's true, but I researched it. It was like one position of a high school PE teacher available in the UK. So that put, narrows it down massively, and you might have to move away from your home to even get that job. And
why do you want to be a teacher?
Growing up, I always coached basketball. I played, but I always was on the sideline coaching basketball. Parents and wanting me to coach their kids. I was always I don't know what it was. I was just always naturally good with younger kids than me. I was a kid coaching kids, but I was 14 coaching, the 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. I was just good and I loved it. I actually really, genuinely, really loved coaching the basketball. And, when you're growing up and you're doing these things, it kind of paves your path in the direction you kind of want to go in. So people, the word teacher would come to mind. And then I remember my mum's partner actually put me off teaching when I was approaching the age where I probably should apply. But my degree really wasn't aligning with what I wanted to do. I always wanted to work in IT marketing. I'm a talker. I love being around people. So marketing made sense, so my degree was kind of around business management and marketing. An IT was floating in there. So I did work experience at my mum's place in Manchester, the big CIS building, CWS. She worked in the CWS building.
You're joking?
No, she was the manager of the switchboard there.
Because I did my, was the young training, the YTS program.
No, I don't know.
Well, for those that can't tell, Landy's about 10 years younger than me. I know we look like the same age, like twins, but he's about 10. So you remember the government, or you won't remember, the government put out this training program for those who couldn't get to college and something. It's called the YTS. You got paid something like £6 a week or something like that. But I had a job at the CWS.
No way. Well, my mum's Carol White, and she was the head of the switchboard she was there for 42 years.
Right, so you're going to another podcast where they can explain to everyone what a switchboard is.
Yeah. Where we used to connect people through.
It was actually the connecting the cables.
Well, that's how she started, was the connecting the cables, and then obviously it became this little desk thing. She was on there doing all the switches, and then she became the manager. She was actually bullied by her boss. So that's where me and my mum kind of aligned. She was bullied by her boss. I'm kind of giving it away now, but so she worked there for years. So I went and did my work placement there in the IT department because mum's partner was working in the IT department. So I got there and it was that boring. No offense to the IT guys. I actually slept in the toilets and no one even knew that was missing. I went and put my head on the tank. I told my mum and she laughed, but no one even looked for me. No one even noticed. So I did my thing there and that put me off IT. Kind of wanted to go down the marketing route. Love talking, love meeting new people and so on. And that kind of then went. I didn't do very well. I graduated with honors, but the lowest point. And then became a bit of a financial solutions advisor in Salford Keys, helping people with their debts, earned a lot of money. But I really was helping people to give them a financial solution. But when you're hearing all these dark, sad stories every day about people splitting up or people being, greedy, addicted, whatever it was, it was pulling me down. And the fact that I was making a lot of money off that was against my probably deep core values. I enjoyed it first, and then it kind of just did its time on me. And I saved all that money and put it to use by traveling the world, came to Australia, played basketball and so on. And then I came back to study because that idea of being a teacher, after when I found myself traveling and learned a lot about myself, teacher kind of came back, and I didn't care what people was trying to do to put me off, like my mum's partner. And he wasn't doing it in a bad way, may I add. So I applied to Australia because I couldn't get on the course in the UK. Year after year, I just couldn't get on. So I applied to Australia and got on. So within 6 weeks, finding out in the December, just before Christmas, I was here for the beginning of the academic year, which is mid-February. Sold my car. My boss at the high school that I worked at lent me something like £10,000. And she saw a lot in me and what I wanted to do and where I really wanted to go. So she didn't want that to stop me, not money to stop me. So I was here. Before you know it, I had a job and they sponsored me. And then in the second year of my career, I won the National Teacher of the Year award. Yeah, it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing because I hate all that stuff
Yeah,
and attention on me sort of thing. I'm a very outgoing person. I love being. It might appear that I like being the center of attention, but it's just wanting to be with people and connect and talk. And I love having a laugh. I love making people feel comfortable, like they can just be right. And
yeah.
but I won that award. An NBA ex NBA Australian player presented it. The media was there. It was quite blown up, which is even more embarrassing. I'm doing a speech and I don't even know I'm up here. And I learned so much off the people that I was working with. I was not the best teacher. I just probably had a really good ability to connect with the kids, the community, the parents, and so on. And then within months, I started the new academic year, and this person I got along with the year. And I mean no harm to them. I'm not trying to defame them. I'm just sharing my side of the story. And within months, I was being chipped away at my character, my personality, being brought down. The lot of banter was going around the school. When you're making that mistake, come on, you can't make that sort of a mistake, Mr. Teacher of the Year. But there's banter and you laugh about it. But after the time goes by, it's gone past that line. But that was just from people around the school. It wasn't the bully. And I was just being chipped away. I won't go into the nitty gritty details because we probably need hours of it. But it came to a point where I was thrown up in my front garden before leaving for work. I was living in fight and flight because I couldn't leave. I was sponsored by the school to stay here in Australia. But it came to a point where, things were being made up, meetings were being made up. My friends who I was going to vent didn't believe me. They just thought it was me not getting along with somebody. Even some of my friends and family probably think the same. You can just vibe off what they're saying, but that mental game really brings you down. I'd rather them just punch me in the face because at least I'd know where I stand with people. Sorry, my dog is dropping bones around the house. So those being chipped away at daily. My partner was crying on the phone, so her mum didn't know really how to support me. I wouldn't walk the dog. I was just down. I was eating shit. Can you hear the dog bone dropping everywhere?
Hey, it's
That's
as long
killing
as it's
me.
your dog and as long as it's not a human bone, we're doing fine.
Yeah, no, it's a dog bone, and she's dropping it everywhere on the floor.
Of
So
course she is, because she wasn't doing before we were recording. Now we're recording. This is why it's about. This is why these things are so real, and we said we don't edit it because this is life. This is what we're dealing with.
yeah, I know. I've just
Right.
texted my partner to come and get her anyway because
So,
it's killing me.
so don't worry, don't
Um,
worry about it at all. It's cool.
no,
Hey,
I know,
if my dog starts getting the bone, then we've got a problem because he's been dead 6 years. So that's okay. So you might see me running away.
yeah, that would be an episode, wouldn't it? Yeah, so it's put me off now. I don't even know. Yeah, so I just it came to it, but it came to not to fill in those little gaps. To the end point came where I she physically pushed me in front of people. So that was the beginning of the end for that person. And yeah, they pushed me, and the person that didn't believe me, a good friend, had seen her push me. So then she went on a bit of a journey herself of, like, oh shit, he's been coming to me for the last 8 months and I've just been shoving him away. She went on her own recovery journey then because she didn't, she just understood that she was doubting me, and yeah, she was second guessing herself going forward. So long story cut short, I lost my shit and I blew up, and the truth came out, and then it got slightly worse with an accusation from her good friend, who the principal then pulled them up on it, and they've never been seen since. They didn't have an answer. They walked out. They thought they were trying to put the nail in my coffin, and the truth came out. And but it didn't end there. I went on a whole new recovery process myself. I thought a fresh start was coming my way in January 16, but I went through paranoia, went through anxiety, a whole new recovery process of sweating all day long, going to the toilet to take my shirt off and dry it down because, the paranoia, the triggers, the meetings, the eyes rolling, all of those things were coming back every single day, and I couldn't move still. But I loved the school. It was really what allowed me to be in Australia. I loved the principal, still a good friend, even though I've not spoken to him over here, but I consider him a friend anyway. And yeah, so then, having my child didn't fix me. I built this house on this side of the bay, Didn't fix me. Got a new fancy car. Didn't fix me. Got my dream job. Opened a private school with a small team. Didn't fix me. Entered another toxic environment, not bullying, but just a toxic work environment. Again, mean no harm to these people. But after leaving that school that I'd opened, within 6 weeks, I changed my life to get rid of the chronic stress. I became a casual teacher. Still am a casual teacher every day. I have the best currency. I'm happy. But within 6 weeks, chronic stress had set in at a very deep level. I got rushed into hospital, thought I was having an anxiety attack, but it turned out my heart was cleared at the hospital, got sent home. And my friend, who's a doctor, we booked him to get some scans done on the Friday. This was the Wednesday when I came out of the hospital. And then on the Friday, I woke up and I was jaundiced. My partner had seen me fully orange. And I phoned my doctor and he said, don't even bother with the scans today. Drop everything. Don't even pack a bag. Get to hospital. So I went down to hospital. He met me on the street because he lived around the corner, gave me a letter to push me through the emergency, even though that didn't really make a difference. But I think they saw what was happening and they rushed me through. And long story cut short, gallbladder full of 40 stones full, and sepsis is setting, and one was stuck in the bile duct. So my partner got the phone call to say, prepare for the worst tonight. He's 30 minutes away from being in a coma if we can't deal with this now. I found out that night I was allergic to penicillin. I look like a druggie in the hospital. Trying to make this lighthearted now, but I'm there, scratched the living daylights out of me. They must have thought I was a druggie. And I never felt that was actually worse than the gallbladder and the sepsis, because I didn't feel anything bad about that, you know. Yeah. But I was scratching the living daylights out of me. 38 years old at the time, find out I'm allergic to penicillin. I've got photos. I'm about to do a keynote speak in April, and so I'm going to take those photos of the scratches and everything, and me in the hospital, and put that onto the big screen because I'm going to do this speech.
But I was going to know that I found out I was allergic to eye ointment when I went to Manchester Eye Hospital because I had a silver paint split in my eye. Oh. So they took the silver paint out and they put eye ointment in. Right, and the eye ointment made me blind for 3 months.
Oh, Jesus.
And they went, we won't put that one in your eye again. I went, man, you're not doing any tests. Yeah, but it's that 0.1% that find out that they're allergic. They're allergic to it. Yeah.
Could you sue them for that? Or not that you would.
No, because then they'd have to ask me how I got silver paint in my face, and that's probably not. That's probably not for this vlog.
Oh, right, okay. Sorry, just nearly put you in jail. So yeah, then me and my friend from Bury, good old Bury, wrote the book How to Lead with Purpose. That's my book right there. And we collected stories around the world. We were just sick. We're on the phone before going into work. We're on the phone about the work day. He's at night. I'm in the morning. I'm sat in the car park, dreading going in, doing breath work just to get me through the hours of that new toxic work environment, my dream job. And I made a joke and said, God, we could write a book, but he was already a best-selling author for another book he wrote. So he said, well, why don't we? And I said, I'm not a writer, mate. And he pushed me to do it. And it was the best thing that I ever did. So we collected stories from around the world of people being bullied in the workplace. We did a personal development chapter 2, and then a leadership chapter. We spoke about the human side of leadership. So they're all tied in and threaded in with those people. And it was therapeutic for us, even if nobody bought the book. It was therapeutic for us. And it was amazing. And we can only hope people who have bought it have benefited from it. And also leaders, just to go, you know what, if you don't look at yourself or how you lead with purpose. And I've realized something since writing the book. I'd love to write like a prequel about how to live with purpose, because you cannot lead the people with purpose if you're not, living with purpose, right? So we kind of go into that, but I'd love to go a bit deeper on that side of things. And then I started, after me going through that crisis of almost dying, I wanted to learn about the brain. I wanted to look at the root causes. So I started reading all these books around the brain and human physiology, food, sleep, exercise, all the little integral parts of the brain, the sections and the cellular level stuff, mitochondria, all those battery points of our cells. And I just love it. I find it fascinating. I'm in love with it. And I just wish I could allocate an hour a day to read. And I it's just, it's obviously really hard with 2 kids, a full-time job, even though I'm a casual teacher, but then the podcast is pretty much full-time. But I just love to talk. I love to meet new people. There's no judgment when I'm filming, because in the world, I you know, I feel judged, whether I am or not is just how I feel. And this is, I've just created a beautiful
So, so,
community.
so, so that's one of the things, when we met the other week, you said, you feel judged and everything else. And I have to say to you, mate, as a mate, as a friend, as a fellow Dentonian, but someone who I relate to a lot,
Mm.
it doesn't matter about being judged.
No.
I don't want to say it on the other night, but I always said, there's 10 billion people in the world. 5 billion don't like me, and that's fair enough. Out of the 5 billion that do like me, I only need a really, really small percentage to like me. And
Mm.
those that like me only need another small percentage to really, really like me. And from
Yeah.
those that really, really like me, and I only need a really, really small percentage for those to really, really, really like me. And from
Yeah.
then, I only need a small, really, 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 really small people to like me. And that's all I need to worry about.
Yeah.
The other thing I've learned is, and we talk about purpose, and we talk about, the two of us talk about purpose in the same ways, in different ways at the same time, is that I always talk about how we develop as an ecosystem. And if you talk about the biological ecosystem, as it changes, as it evolves, things fall off it.
Mm.
And we as human beings sometimes stick to that same type of ecosystem, that network group of people.
Mm.
And we're not all evolving at the same speed. And it's okay to those people that were in that important ecosystem of yours 5, 10 years ago to forget about them and
Yeah.
start a new one and grow a new one. And we always cling on to the things. I used to call it being shackled to the past way of thinking, and around shackled to the past people. It's okay to say, you know, you've served your time. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Go. I'm pretty sure there's a nicer way to say, well, I just, mate, get lost, will you?
Yeah. No, I
Right.
agree.
Or you just stop liking them on social media, and guess what? They're suddenly going, where that happens. I'm going to touch on a few things, and I don't know where this is going to go. And I said I don't know where this is going to go, but a couple of things that you talked about, and one of the things that we said at the very beginning when we were offline is there might be things we say that are controversial and might want to not say, but I'm going to say it because it's something that's been on my mind for a long time because of my own journey of people talk about, my own travels and whatever else. And I said, I was positively discriminated against as a white male and over 40, a white male and over 50. And it's not saying that the rest of the world's great. And I'm not being like, look about me, but I feel that white male and over 40, white male over 50 to actually what you're doing at the moment and talking about this resonate with so many other people. And we
Mm.
often underestimate what's happening in mental health at this moment in time for people of our age group. Sorry, I'm going to put you in my age bracket, mate,
Yeah. Yeah.
of
I don't
our age
mind.
group. So being free to speak about it is okay. The other thing you talked about is it me? And that is, it's not. And I think society has changed so much that we think that we're always looking at ourselves, and we can move on from that. So I want to touch on that in a minute because
Mm.
um, this is probably going to be one of the few vlogs we do where we're actually going to promote you to the hell. Yeah, because your podcast, the people you've been able to get on your podcast are absolutely amazing people. People that we actually know we know each other, which is really
Yeah.
which is really, really
That was
bizarre that
bizarre.
we know people, we know people not having not met each other, know people. But you know, all your guests have gone through some pretty major life-changing life challenges, whether the bullying, trauma, they've
Yeah.
reinvented themselves. Very few of them, and none of them so far that I've listened to, have ever come on as a victim, nor are they coming on and saying, "Look at me now, look at me, I'm fantastic." The very good human beings is what I say. That we've all you can listen to them, you can think, I can relate to the journey there. Even though I haven't been on that journey, I can relate to it because I've been on something that's just as important to me.
Mm.
So, are there any particular lessons that you've noticed in how they and how you chose to turn up every single day? Because I know that in my own circumstances, there's been times when, turning up every single day is meaning getting out of bed because that's about all I've been able to do. So,
Yeah.
either take it from anyone on your podcast or your own experience, but what lessons you've learned about just being able to show up every day or turn up every day.
They've all got something very, even if it's just minute, they've all got something quite in common. And what I've noticed, the repeating pattern of discussion is how they set themselves up mentally each day, physically and emotionally, to conquer. If something's going to go wrong that day, they're better prepared. So morning routine seems to be a reoccurring discussion point, even though they might not deem themselves, health freaks, or, they take care of what they put in their bodies or anything like that. It's mainly around their books. A lot of them have got books, or a lot of them have been on TEDx talks and do public speaking, and a lot of them have changed their life for that's how they bring their money in. That's their income, that's their purpose. I probably should go their why. So again, whether they're public speakers, whether they're authors, whether they have programs, whether they're hypnotists, and whether they're coaches now and things like that, some of them are breath workers, and they've traveled and they're living in Bali being breath workers. I don't know, me now, a mutual friend, Trav Bell, he's the bucket list guy, but other ones who have moved and lived their life to help other people down that scenario. I suppose my podcast is them doing their breath work. That's my way of helping the world, and they're specific to doing that type of thing. But yeah, morning routines is something that I did personally for me, and then meeting them, it's like it's become a bit of a segment now, because I've started to incorporate that question into each guest. Is like, what do you do to set yourself up? And it doesn't mean they have to be, all jumping in cold water.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they all need to be eating, oats for breakfast, but they have something that sets them up well, whether it's even just sitting down, having a morning coffee in silence. Do you know what I mean? It just allows them to get prepared better for the days, whereas that's not something consciously what they would have thought about prior to whatever it was we're talking about on the topic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank goodness you didn't say they all became vegans, because this would be a very short vlog if it was, because that's the worst possible thing. It does in a way, and when you're listening to that, I'm going, well, yeah, I've done the same in the same way that my routine in the morning is an Iceland black, right, every day. But when I started, when I the traumas, the stuff with the Wendy, and when I came out of it, and setting up my own business, if I was going to do this, there's three things I said when I set up my business: is that I don't work Fridays, and I'll only want to travel business class, and I want at least 18 weeks holiday a year. Well, let's go backwards. I found I actually don't want 18 weeks holiday. What I want is the flexibility to travel and to do things when I want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm bored. For 18 weeks, I'm bored.
Sure.
The traveling business class, well, I'll just make that part of my travel. I'll just include it part of my costs.
Yeah.
Well, it's done. I'd actually rather travel business class than spend the extra night in a posh room. In fact, I'm off to the Gold Coast on next week after next, and I'm actually going up business class, but I'm actually staying in the room. I'm not staying in the room I could have done, because that's part of mine. And then the thing about not working Fridays is, it's not working Fridays. I don't allow anyone to book into my calendar on Friday.
Yeah.
Right. So if I decide to let someone come on Friday, if I decide to do it, which is very, very rare, then that's because I've opened one. So I've set the boundaries. So the non-negotiables. So it's the same people when they get up in the morning, the non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable,
right?
yes. Maybe
right. So my non-negotiable is, you get up in the morning, you have a nice black coffee, you look at the back page of the Daily Mirror and find out how crap Manchester United have been in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you go, well, hey, the day can only get better from this.
Yeah. Or the other way.
Or the other way, depending on which. We'll find out about it Thursday morning, whatever. So that's quite interesting. You've the people.
Can I add one thing to that? Sorry.
Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
Purpose. They're all very clear on the purpose now as well.
So you talk about purpose. I talk about high purpose. I talk of purpose beyond your purpose. So when people come out and do stuff, and ask, not what is your purpose, but what is the high purpose that you're trying to, the purpose. Because I think when you don't do it, and people on the podcast are, but we're trained. When people talk about the purpose, they say, I want to do stuff for the family. But what is the real reason why people want? What is that high purpose? What is that? Not what's suddenly going to be the gravestone, but what is that high purpose? I don't care what it is. I just want people to know why the bloody hell getting out of bed. Right. They're not getting out of bed to fill out a timesheet with a 6 minutes increment so they can charge it at $300. And now, what is it that they're trying to? Now, if you want to get out of bed because you want a white picket fence house with 2 kids, 2.5 dogs, right, and a partner, right, that's great. That is absolutely great. Just understand why on earth you're getting out of bed. If you don't know why on earth you're getting out of bed,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's not easy, right? It's not something you can, I don't think it's something you can sit in a room and say, okay, with a whiteboard and just work it out. I mean, I'm 54 years old. I reckon I reckon the last 4 or 5 years I've redefined what my purpose is.
Oh, I have for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. And I think theirs has too as well. And it will continue to change. When I ask the future plans, I think on that journey that their purpose, their why, their meaning will change. But I do think it's one of the three contributing factors to the achieving the long-term state of happiness. For me, happiness would be, understanding your why, your purpose, your higher why,
Yeah.
and staying loyal and authentic to that, but also um, being enjoyment in the moment that you're doing, whether you're playing basketball or whether you're doing something. Do you actually like right now? I'm enjoying my time with you.
Yeah.
When it's finished, I want to be satisfied, and that all those things contribute to there's a purpose in this, right? And
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. And when I'm finished, I'll be satisfied. So that contributes to my long-term statement of happiness. And, we talk about happiness in schools, and I keep saying to the children, I don't think being happy is an emotion. I believe that it's a long-term state, but because when, like, you could say something to piss me off now and you might make me angry. It doesn't mean I lose my long state happiness in life.
No. Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
happiness, therefore happiness happiness isn't an emotion. There's byproducts to happiness,
Yeah,
pleasure.
absolutely. I mean, if Virgin are listening or Austin Martin, then sponsorship from either of those type of people would bring absolute happiness
Or pleasure.
or pleasure. I prefer happy. I can spell that more than I. Right. So if they're listening, they bring that along. So the other thing you talked about, when you're talking about the life back in Manchester, and about people being together, one of and being and playing basketball, we went to two rival schools, right? Literally rival schools.
Yeah.
And one thing I always remember, do you ever play kick the can at school?
No.
See, this is so we used to kick the can. So I used to start off with the Coke can because I was the furthest one away. And 6:30 in the morning, I kicked the can and you're knocking people's doors on the way. And by the time you got to school, you already had a football team at school. You had a soccer team ready to play. Well, it took us an hour to kick a can. And but it was the team. You were always on time because you wouldn't let you wouldn't let the other person down, and you don't get to school early. Like bloody hell, you get to school early, you get changed, and you do stuff. But I think one of the things when our schools, Edgerton and Two Trees, they were big on sports, right? Academically, we weren't always the brightest kids, but we were big on
Be
sports.
for yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, Two Trees definitely was.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
But we were big. We were big on sports, like boys and girls sports. And I think that was really, I think that's been really important. I think that's definitely what made me from that. The other thing I want to ask you is that the um the people that you're looking at or you talk to on the podcast, um, the stories are so inspiring, but I want you to go back to the first one you did, or first one or two, and what resonates from those first one or two about what they say. And the reason I say that for you is because, one of the things that we always try to do is we don't want to leave an impression today. We want to leave an impression forward that, next week, next month, or whatever. So if you go back to those early ones, what are some of the impressions that they've given you that you think, well, this is the way that we can live a better life with more purpose, making
Oh.
every day count?
The podcast started off real strong, and they were all my friends. The first, 6, 7, up to 10, at maybe number 10 were like people that were already maybe 2 had filtered in there because I'd put the feelers out there, like on LinkedIn and Facebook and stuff like that. And they found the website because I launched all of that a year before I even started filming because I knew what I wanted to do. But like I said, I need to get the knowledge behind me to have those deep conversations with like some of the neuroscientists that I'm interviewing now and stuff like that. I needed to learn. So I went and did all the learning, but I always had some of my friends lined up. So you're gonna like this. So I filmed first with a guy called Don Johnson. He's the drummer from ACR, A Certain Ratio.
Oh,
I
yeah.
knew him since I was 8, but I didn't know Don was a professional drummer. My mate, one of my good friends, Lauren, her dad, she's also on the podcast, by the way, Lauren Johnson. And they're a big basketball family. She went to Marquette. I went to see her in Milwaukee. We were friends. She was 8. I was 10. We're like brother and sister, and still am to this day. But Don and Jane actually were just here at Christmas, and Don unfortunately got rushed into hospital with DVT. Came over here to see me. Anyway, Don's the drummer of ACR, Certain Ratio, Happy Mondays, and New Order are the other two bands under Tony Wilson, the famous producer. Right. So ACR, Certain Ratio, we talked about his journey. He didn't really have a traumatic background. He grew up in Withenshaw. He's a black man, so he did talk about a bit of the racism, but it didn't really affect him. But his journey of how he leads his own way still falls under that category of leading our own way. That was really inspiring. He was the one I filmed, but my first one I always promised was a guy here called Jake Ward, who had ran around us pretty much, from Melbourne to Cranbourne, Sydney Harbour Bridge to Cranbourne, and then Gold Coast to Cranbourne for breast cancer. And then he went on a hell of a journey with his wife, then getting cancer. She almost died, didn't say they could have children. He left his job, became a big YouTuber on arm wrestling, and now he gets flown all the way around the world to commentate on all the national arm wrestling things. Now, he had doubt. We aligned because I was about to embark on my journey. Doubters. You're not going to do anything with this. This is not going to go into anything. He quit his job, got the fear, and just went for it. And now he's making money from it, and that's his living. Now, for me, it's understanding his journey and passion and the purpose of why we're all doing what we're doing. And they've put all the financial obligations, fall into society, going, I need a 9 to 5, I need a job, and all of that. He's doing what makes him happy. And the byproduct is eventually it's turned it into a source of income. But I love that he does the arm wrestling thing. Do I go and arm wrestle? No, I'll get torn apart. Do I enjoy watching it? No, I don't say I probably do actively go and watch arm wrestling. It's something I've never really. But man, when I hear him do his thing, I get hairs on the back of my neck and arms all stand up. And I just wanted to share his journey. And I will do another part to say what he's doing now. And, he's just phenomenal. It's so inspiring. And I suppose I want to see that in everybody else. So all these amazing guests that I have done since Jake, I get to see that in them. And I just want to show them. And the end result is, well, if people can take pieces of each of the guests and put it into their own life, then we're helping them, right? But I don't know if I covered your question, actually. I feel like I've probably gone over it a little bit, but that's how I resonate with Jake. I would have hoped I would also, I'm venting here, and I know you'll probably say, don't do that. And I agree with you, but there's parts of me that want other people that are close to me in my life. They don't have to enjoy the stories, but just embrace that I'm doing what I love to do and just show me support in that. And I've not really had many people from friends or family say, I've tuned into one, or I love what you're doing. The podcast has actually not even been mentioned, believe it or not.
So, I'm going to say, we said there's no filter on this.
Yeah.
So, we've just had the charity we just had a long lunch yesterday. Now, my mum and dad passed away in 2018 and 2020. Didn't have a lot of money. Dad and mum, and dad's probably not rolling in his grave going, can you shut up, please, darling? I want to peace and quiet. Or the City win the FA Cup yet? Or something like that. He's probably raising up. He was a bloke. Sorry about that.
I got
it. But one of the two things that I always remember about them, whenever me and Wendy went round to them, the first thing they always say was, Wendy, how's your business? That's the first, and they shut up and they'd listen. They shut up and they listen. The second thing they do, whenever we had anything to do with the Longitude Foundation, no matter what, they said, they don't want to go. They just give us money, right? Whatever it was, they'd always give us. If the ticket was $200, they give us $500, right? They were all generous to us. To this day, they're the only family members that have contributed to our foundation. Our Longitude was set up because Wendy had a double lung transplant. So all the research we make keeps her alive and many thousands of other people alive. You would have thought as family members that would donate, come along, give us a gift. They don't do anything. And it really started to piss me off. And then I thought, well, you know what? It doesn't bother me any longer. Up to a couple of years ago, so probably 10 years into my coaching business, I was still getting asked, why don't I go and get a proper job?
Oh, what?
Regardless of the fact that mentally, for the reasons, this is not about mentally, I couldn't do that. I couldn't know because I needed to look after Wendy as well.
Mm.
So I have taken great pleasure in actually, this comes back to this ecosystem, but you want people, you're forcing people who don't really want to. I want to say care. They don't really want to. They love you, but they love you in a different way. So I
Yeah.
think we're trying to look for that emotional intelligence that just doesn't exist in those type of people. You just want them to do it, and you got to say, you know what? I just have to accept you as who you are. That that love or that support I always thought I'd want from a family member or
Mm.
close friend. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And you're good for that box. Right, it's like I used to play when I played rugby very, really badly. And they were good rugby people to play, right? And I'd go out drinking with them. The soccer people, the football people I play, I never want to go drinking with them because if I go drinking with them, I'm always going to end up. There's always going to be a punch off,
Yeah.
right? So you never want to go with them, and they were the good for the football. They weren't good for drinking. So this thing about you always want your family or people to support you, whatever the way, you don't need them, right?
No.
It's time for you to let go. What? Because you've got this great big network behind you, which again comes to now. We haven't sat down and talked about this properly. But you've got this massive network behind you that is ready for Andy's voice, right? He's ready for Andy's voice in a number of different, and I'll provide the subtitles. So there's no problem with that. Um, but they are ready for it. You're ready for it because the people you have in your podcast wouldn't come on the podcast for the sake of coming on the podcast because they're too busy to do it. They come on because they think there's an outlet of people to do. And I always say, when people tell my story, what do you want to? Why do you do the podcast? And I said, if I can stop one person from being on top of that bridge, that's all it
Exactly.
is. That doesn't
Exactly.
matter, right? If I can stop one person from, as we got told from doctors, if you want to kill yourself, you can do it tomorrow. But the outcome's the same. But have a chat with someone today because you never know, you might decide not to. So don't worry about the family, mate. Don't worry about it. You're too good.
Oh no, I'm really not. But there's, when you think deep, right? There's always that moment, isn't there, when it just creeps in and go, why on earth? Like I always picture my son, like I'm gonna fucking support him to the highest level, whether I care for the thing he's actually doing. I'll support him for his journey. It's like Jake with his arm wrestling. I just love it when I hear his voice on the thing going, "Man, you're living the dream, mate." I don't care for the arm wrestling, but you're living the dream, and I love it.
we do live the dream, but we live the dream in it. We live the dream in a different world. We're not trying to live in other people's worlds, and we're trying to do what we want to do. And that's the whole make every day count is about doing that.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of other questions for you, mate, because you're the longest we've done so far. But I love this.
I knew that was going to happen.
We were but Wendy goes, "How long are you going to be?" I was talking to Andy. She goes, "Oh, you guys could be all night, couldn't you?" I said, "Oh."
She knows me already. We've not even met.
So when I started telling her about your what you do with NLP, because she's a resilience coach, and about the brain, I said, "Oh, Andy knows all that stuff about the brain." He goes, "Why?" I said, "He was using all these big words that I can't understand and everything like that." So she said, "Well, when we come down to Torquay, can we catch up?" I went, "Well, no. The whole idea is that me and Andy catch up with you." So you'll have a
I'd love to
meeting.
meet her though.
Yeah, no, you'll have me though. She'll drop us off so I can have a beer, a pint with.
Cool.
What's the? I want to talk about some fun stuff, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's talk about. So if there was a song that represented your life, what would the song be?
I don't know if this represents my life as such, but I'm going to start off with. Can I say Justin Timberlake bringing sexy back? No, I'm joking. That was a joke. I wish. It is a Justin Timberlake song though. It's "Can't Stop the Feeling." My son was born to that song, and I think it's just that feeling. I think it represents to me that I don't know what it is. Since I've moved to Australia, and I don't know if it's an Australian thing, so I think I apologize to all the Australian viewers. This is not what I'm trying to say. It's probably because I've just experienced some negative things, but I'm still here because I bloody love being here and I love the lifestyle and so on. And I love when I walk out onto the Great Ocean Road, and I love all of that stuff. And I remember why I'm here, even though I'm stepping away really probably from the reason why I'm here. But I can't stop the feeling of, I feel like I've always been kind of squashed. And again, it's probably in the journey. Again, that word judgment, the fear of the unknown, I then started to suffer with. But I always come back to, people used to say to me, where's the old, like, Andy White. Where's this Andy White when I was going dark? Where's the old Andy White? And I feel like the old Andy White's back because I can't stop that feeling of me being me. And I feel like I've always tried to be, people have tried to put me in a box or behind a fence, behind a line. And I think this is why I'm now going against the department and behind, I don't want to be managed or even led anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be inspired by people who are not in my control, not in control of me in terms of my job and stuff like that. So I can't stop that feeling of just wanting to be Andy White.
Isn't there a song called "I Can't Stop the Feeling"?
Yeah, Justin Timberlake. Yeah, can't stop the feeling.
There, no,
That's
there's
from.
no, there's an older one, isn't
Oh,
there?
maybe there is. I don't know.
I think there's an old one. So this is show my age. I think there's a '60s one. I can't stop the
Oh,
feeling.
maybe. Yeah, maybe there is. But I think that's the best way, the best one really. But I've had other songs in my life. I always used to listen to songs from the movies and pretend I was in the movies and stuff like that. And that doesn't really represent my life as such. But I always, going back though, when I was young, do you remember the song "I Love Your Smile"? And it's not so much the chorus. There was a song, there was parts of words, and I forget it now. I'd have to listen to it because I've not listened to it for years. But I always pictured that was being played at my funeral because I always wanted people to be smiling at my funeral. It's weird. When I first heard it, I was like, that's what I want played at my funeral because I want people to look out the window. And I remember something about the window. And in class, I always used to look out the window at the big wide world and going, I'll be out there one day.
So I want to touch on school because the question that people ask is, what would you say? What would you say to your younger self? And I don't want to do that. We should actually go back to Denton together. Actually,
Yeah, we should.
that'd be
Yeah.
good. We should see
Mm.
what happens when you walk into the Angel or the Jollies and see what happens. But if you stood in front of the class, the 16-year-olds at Edgy Park today,
Mm.
uh, given where you come from, and neither of us we're not Ronaldo's, we're not Beckham's, we're not Giggsy's or anything like that. What would you say to those kids? Now, and to give everyone the context, Denton isn't it's a working class. It's a working class place. It's ups and downs. It's probably towards the middle end, low to middle end of the working class.
Yeah.
It was just normal people. Just there's no
Everyday
footballers
common
live
people.
out. Everyday common people. If
What's
you wake up,
shameless?
you wake up in the morning, your car's still got four wheels. That's okay. Might not have a steering wheel, but it's got four wheels.
My bumper was stolen. I'm a beatbox.
So if you went back to Edgy and you're in that class of 7, what would you say to those kids?
I don't know. It's just tough on that one. I think if I was to talk to myself, I'd be like, good job. You've achieved. You've gone and you've chased everything you always wanted to chase. Whether you achieved them or not is a different story. But good on you for chasing, because most people have these dreams, but they don't do anything about it. So that probably would be my advice to those kids outside of Andy White sitting there. Would be the things you're thinking about now. Fucking go and try it. But I see people on Facebook, and it's not that they're not happy. They're probably really, really happy, and they've got families, and I know a few have lost their lives through suicide. I've seen that 3 or 4 times of the kids that I went to school with, not particular friends with them. So I don't mean it horribly, but it was sad. It was obviously dreadful to see that on Facebook, but I've seen it about 3 or 4 times. In the school, from the school setting. There's been more outside of the school in Denton that I'm aware of, but just at the school. But I think my advice would be to that, whatever you're thinking you want to do now, because I remember some people wanted to be a singer and he was brilliant. And I know he's not a singer. I know a lot of them wanted to be footballers, and they're not. Whether they pursued it or not I don't know, but I would be saying to them, whatever you're thinking you want to do right now, fucking go and try it. And I'm thinking 90% of them didn't.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant thing to do. And I think, that's today. That is brilliant. And you're right, because some of the things that we wanted to do as a kids, because we were doing, you would never think of being an astronaut. You never think of flying a plane. If we were to join the forces, we'd join the army, right, and be start from the bottom, but start as a private going up. But I think we can do that. And the knowers, right, to get rid of those knowers and just go with it. And as I said, as long as it's not illegal, right, as long as it's not trying to hurt someone deliberately, and as long as you're not trying to damage your own brand, because everyone has a brand, and give it a go. Because the worst that can happen is I don't like it.
Yeah.
Just don't be vegan because that's no good. No vegan's no vegan good. All right, we are. I'm going to call it. I'm going to call this in a minute, but I want to leave. I want to let you to finish off because I usually finish this off. I've loved this. We could go on all night, but just let me know. Say,
Should make
I'll see you
part two,
later.
that's all.
We could do part two. We've talked a lot. We haven't, and I'll just say again, anyone that wants to understand, um we haven't even touched the surface on Andy's life and what it's been like and stuff. And my only regret with you, is I didn't actually know you when we were in Denton because I reckon we could have had a fantastic time.
Or sooner in Australia.
Or sooner in Australia,
Because you've been here, what, since 95?
95, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what the chances? I only started high school in 95.
Right. And to give everyone a view on this, how bad this is, not only do we were from Denton, we met at this networking event. We both know Trav Bell, the bucket list guide. If you don't know Trav Bell, go to his site.
Or watch my episode last week.
Watch his episode. Watch his episode first. Like Andrew's episode, do all the recommendations, then go over there. But Andy lives down in Torquay, when his family is down in Ocean Grove, and we're going like, oh my god, this is so close to each other. When we'll go down and we will absolutely catch up. In fact, we can actually go down to Torquay Sands.
Torquay Sands, did you say?
Yeah, the golf course. Do you play golf?
Yeah. I don't, but if you can get me in, I'll come and have a whack with you.
Yeah, we'll definitely go there and have a beer. Definitely, there's no problem with that. But would you give your words or give your last couple of minutes of words of wisdom to the world that's listening to this about Low, about the purpose, making every day count. Just the world's your oyster. Off you go, mate.
Well, before I do that, I do want to say something that I say to kids every day because I still teach casually. I don't ask a child, and I want this to be incorporated into an adult's life. So I don't ask what you want to be in terms of a job. What job do you want? I hear a lot of teachers and a lot of parents saying, what do you want to be when you're older? What job would you like? And I say, scrap that. Stop asking it. Ask them what their dream is. A kid wanted to be an astronaut the other day. I said, look, there's 49 active astronauts in the world as we speak. You could be one. But if you don't, imagine you dream that high. I mean, I didn't go into this much depth with him, but with you here on the podcast in this vlog, that kid could be the highest level of the Navy or the Air Force if he tries to be an astronaut. He might not make it, but imagine how high he could get in something that he's still passionate about because he's dreaming so big and actually walking down that path. Do you know what I mean? That's that little piece of thing for there. But for the podcast, I really want to create a safe space, for people to be vulnerable. A lot of people don't feel safe being vulnerable. So if we can put it on screen, and don't get me wrong, there are some guests that come on who are really nervous, and they've always kind of praised me afterwards and said, I just love that you made me feel so safe in doing so. And that's my priority, is the guest feeling completely safe. Sometimes they don't want to share some things, and that's fine. I'd ask them not to tell me that part. But my first priority is for the guest to feel safe. But the idea is that people feel safe to be vulnerable, so other people can see somebody being vulnerable of the darkness that they've been through, but also see those pivotal points. And if it means that they step out of bed one day, opposed to staying in bed, one step, and by a week later they're walking to their front door, and then by a week later they're going out in the front garden, that could change the trajectory of life. And so I really, the end of it is really is I want people to be able to take a piece from each guest and incorporate into their life. If we can help prevent brain health decline, if we can help mental fitness decline, if we can prevent all of those things, then we're doing our job. Because I think our human baseline level is just, I feel like connection is low, and I really want everyone to connect at a much higher level. Part of it is because I am energetic and love meeting people. I think people feel threatened by that, and I don't know why, because we should all be able to connect. If you go back to our tribal ancestors, we all lived in tribes, and we all, aunties and uncles, all lived together and looked after the children. It didn't matter who the mum and dad was. We should be like that again. And I miss, people just can't even look at you on the street these days when they're walking the dog. They'll actually cross the road to avoid eye contact. That brings a lot of anxiety. I say fear in children every single day. And I can't speak for adults, but I feel like it's out there. And I just really want these children to grow up happy and our world to thrive in 20 years' time. And I'm really nervous about that. But also the adults as well. We've got to stop reacting to what's going wrong. Let's get to the root cause. And that's another part of the podcast, is really everyone leads their own way. I said it on another podcast. We all see the same thing when you look out the window of the classroom or the world or whatever, we all see the same thing, but we all think and feel and sense and smell it all completely different, which means we all lead our own way in a completely different way. And I think it's powerful to lead our own way. It doesn't have to be the same as everybody else. Just feel safe in being you, feel safe in being vulnerable, feel safe in being your authentic self, because I know we throw that word around a lot. And I think the world is going to be a much better place if we can do that. So that's, again, why the podcast exists. There's many facets to it, but that's some of them.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm not often I'm lost for words. That's what I do. I'd just like to leave it though. If you want to get hold of Andy, his address is 13 Simpson Avenue. You know it. If they want to get hold of you, Andy, how did they get hold of you?
So yeah, I've got my website is www.leadingourownway.com. Leading Our Own Way is verified on all the platforms as well. So you go to Instagram. My LinkedIn is Andrew White. I do have a Leading Our Own Way page, but I felt I had people to come to the face. So I've gone Andrew White with LinkedIn, but everything else is Leading Our Own Way. It's all verified. Yeah. The email is andrew@leadingourownway.com. If you've got a short story to share, everyone just want to speak for advice as well. I've got a couple of people who just reach out just for talk. Yeah. For a bit of chat, and I'm all right with that too. So,
and then when you're going to fill out the MCG with your talk?
The what? Sorry,
when you're going to fill out the MCG with your talk?
Oh bloody hell! I've got one on the 26th of April that I'm really nervous about, and I'm actually sweating when I think about it. So I love to talk, and I don't. But being on stage is something that I am pretty nervous about. I know when I'm on stage I'll be okay. It's the lead up to it is makes me nervous. But when I'm on stage and I'm rattling on, I'll be fine. Like this, right? You always get a little bit nervous, but then when you get into it, you kind of fall in love with it.
I got forced into doing this. Not forced into doing this vlog, but being on stage for me is easy. Yeah. Doing this type of stuff is so hard for me. So hard.
Really? Well, maybe I help you out and then you help me out.
Yeah. Just don't think about me naked when you're on stage. Not yet, anyway. But Andy, I just want to say a massive thank you for this. A massive thank you for the flukiness of us catching up and meeting together. I will tag Alex and Jenny into this afterwards. But just thanks for coming into my life. It's been an absolute blast over the last four weeks. But it's only been 4 weeks, isn't it?
I think it's only been 2 or 3, hasn't it?
Has it only been 2 or 3? God, it feels like
that.
It's been absolutely. Thank you so much. You've just you've been an absolute inspiration. You've just built a massive smile on my face, and we can't stop talking about it. So thank you a lot, mate, and we'll catch you very, very soon.
Thank you to you too, and I can't wait to share your journey on Leading Our Own Way.
Thank you. Okay, now we've got to finish. Now I'll stop recording.
Still.